Steve, it's slowed down quite a bit. We're coming up on 103 with 25 folks online, some of whom I know we've not seen in a while. So good to have you with us. And I'm going to mute all and turn it over to Steve.
Welcome, everybody. I'm working from an iPad, so I'm not as familiar with where to push the buttons. But and I can only see 15 other people. So Cecil, if you can help me keep up with what's going on. I'm zooming in from Kingsport, Tennessee at my daughter's house. We had our granddaughter with us for all this week on a shopping spree for her 16th birthday, and we brought her home today. So let's see. Time for any concerns we want to include before we ask for our invocation.
Okay. Dear Lord, we ask you to look upon us and grant us your love, your mercy, and your understanding. Forgive us for anything you may have seen amiss in us today. Put into our hearts the idea of service. Keep us alert to the needs of others. Bless the work of Rotarians everywhere, and let us remember that when we serve others, we serve you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Karen. And let's see, Rick Smith, I think, is our Sergeant at Arms this month. So Rick, if you'll lead us in the pledge and the four-way test.
I think Rick's having some technical difficulties today. He's currently signed out. Perhaps General LaFontaine could help us out again.
I would be delighted if you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate you stepping in there. Next will be Happy Dollars. Who has some Happy Dollars today?
Jack Ewing.
I'll throw in 5 happy dollars. We just yesterday completed the trifecta, meaning that we have now visited my mother and sister in Florida, and our daughter and her family in Maine, and our daughter and her family in North Dakota. And we survived taking 6 flights on airplanes, although yesterday's flight from Fargo to Nashville was a bit boisterous because of a 15-person bachelor party that began at the moment they got on the plane. So wow. I don't think they should serve alcohol on planes.
There's some discussion about eliminating that from all the fights that have occurred, I think. I'm going to put in $10 for surviving a week of shopping with a 16-year-old and married.
Dean McMahon's waving.
I'll put $5 in because I too survived, Steve, going with my daughter moved. We is selling her house, so we moved her out of the old house into a new one she has purchased. And so for 2 or 3 weeks, we've been down there working our honeys off. So glad to get home and glad to get her moved. It's worth $5.
Good, glad to have you back. Jeff?
Yeah, I'd like to put in $5 to recognize my 18-year-old daughter graduating from high school this week, Hannah Meggs.
Very good. Joshua.
Yeah, slide me in there for 10 of them. I've not been able to get to some of these meetings here lately, and that's because we've been trying to close up a school year, and so we finished that thing up last week, and so I'm able to get back here on a little bit more of a regular type basis of things. So just glad to be able to get through school year, and everyone stayed healthy doing it, and hopefully we'll have some more happy dollars here soon as we open up another school year in a whole new building and campus and everything else just up the hill. So
very good.
Joshua, I know you've been missed a few meetings, and I just wanted to be clear you understand now that each minimum donation for Happy Dollars is $100. So 10 times 100 is $1,000, just to be clear.
Well, then put me down for a penny. Is that the right math there, Cecil? Was that pretty good on the
Yeah,
fly
that'll
there?
work. That'll work
All right,
too.
so put me down for a penny, Cecil. You know, I used to teach math once upon a time, so you know, we'll get that thing right.
Understood. Anybody?
Ed LaFontaine,
Ed?
unmute yourself, Ed.
I'd like to throw in a nickel to the process and on the prior computations, but nickel is for Josh Morgan to give us a program here at Rotary on what the traffic on Russ Avenue is going to be like when the school opens.
You better be careful, Ed. 5 times 10 is $50.
No, it didn't say 5 times 10. It's five times 100 in pennies, a nickel.
All right. I thought it was 1,000, but
Well, might as well do the Carl Sagan, you know, billions and billions.
anyone else with a happy dollar?
Yeah, I'll give.
Paul Starnes and then Rick.
I'm gonna give $5 in celebration of my daughters and grandchildren, son-in-law, coming this next week. And this is the first time we've been together since Thanksgiving of 2019 because of the COVID virus.
Very good. Rick?
I'll give $5 too. That I didn't have a heart attack trying to figure out how to get the sound on my pad, and that didn't work, so I'm on my phone. Something screwy's going on. I apologize for the complications today.
That's all right. Ed LaFontaine pitch hit for you.
Thank you.
Any other happy dollars? Very good. I don't have, I'm sorry?
No one else is waving at you.
Okay, good. I've asked Rich Downs to give us an update on a project that is a Rotary International supported project that helps people all over the world. And it's called Shelter Box Kits. Had to look at my notes. I want to make it right. Rich, can you open it up for us?
I sure can. I think I'm unmuted. Can everybody hear me?
Your picture's frozen, but we can hear you.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me give you a website starting right off the bat. shelterboxusa.org. Boxusa.org. For those of you who are not familiar with Shelterbox, it is an organization that was begun by a Rotary Club in England in the year 2000. And the purpose is to provide shelter and supplies for individuals who are in great need due to natural or man-made disasters. They have created a large box. And by large, I don't know the dimensions, but it takes 2 grown men to pick one up when it's loaded. 2, maybe 3 will fit in the bed of a long bed pickup truck. In that box is a tent that will sleep 10 people, and all the necessities needed to support a family or a group of 10 people for an extended period of time. Now, like a lot of organizations, this organization approaches Rotary clubs for donations. It is an international project. It is Rotary International's only disaster relief program, and it just finished this past year, was its 20th year, and it's helped over 2 million families around the world. this past year, I'm going to check my notes. This past year, Shelter Box continued to respond during the pandemic, which I can't even imagine doing. Dealing with just pandemic on a local basis, I can't even imagine what they've had to do. They've reached 33,000 families in 11 countries while responding to 17 natural disasters, such as floodings, typhoons, or displacements due to conflict. Steve sent me an email from Bill Tobin, who was the Rotary Relations Manager for Shelter Box USA. They were looking for donations from individual clubs, and then Jeff Norris. The opinion right now seems to be that this might be something we might want to look at going forward as a way to participate in our international giving and international involvement. And I'm willing to spearhead that and liaison if necessary, and if the club wants to do that. It is basically a money-giving project, and I understand that there's a lot of people wanting donations, and part of the understanding of what we knew or what we do comes from explaining what our money goes to and how it affects other people. Questions? I don't hear any, so let me sign off.
One thing, Rich, how much does a shelter box cost? What's the cost of an individual shelter box?
A shelter box costs $1,000.
I was thinking that. Thank you very much for that update on
individual shelter box costs. There are, I'm sorry. There's a, either your audio is breaking up on your end or it's breaking up on my end. Can you repeat your question?
I just asked about the cost of a shelter box and you told us.
Yes, it's $1,000.
Rich, I think your bandwidth has gotten too low. You may want to log out and log back in because your image is freezing up and your audio is breaking up. You might log out and try to log back in.
All right.
Please.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. The other thing would be to introduce our president-elect and ask him if he has any updates for us. Jeff?
Thanks, President Steve. When I gave you an update last week, I thought I would have updates by Monday of this week. We're still working with a couple places to confirm where we're going to start our in-person meetings again. Hope to have that. And I just got a text that was very promising. We also hope to have a banquet at Lake Junaluska and maybe a couple boat rides in the near future. We have to continue a little coordination with Ken and his team out there. We also are working on a number of things behind the scenes, a couple grant requests and coordinating with the other local clubs. So lots going on. Looking forward to getting a place set. It's been, I can't really tell you how difficult it's been just trying to get a place, but hopefully we've got that worked out and we'll confirm within the next couple of days. But for now, I think that's about it. Thank you, President Steve.
Thank you, President-elect Jeff. Are there any other announcements anyone would like to make?
Steve, I have a couple if I might.
Okay, Cecil.
Putting the treasurer's hat on for a moment. This morning I wrote a check for $1,270 and we'll be mailing that to Rotary International for CART. We finally received all the pledged money over the week, so that will be heading out and meeting our obligation to them. There continue to be a few people that have not yet paid their dues, and we're coming down on the end of the fiscal year. I sent out again, I think this is the third time I sent out bills to those who have not paid. If you didn't receive an account statement this morning, you're paid. But I would ask those of you to check your email and make sure that you're getting your payments in. We still have some fairly significant bills to pay by the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Cecil. Any other announcements? Not seeing any. I will turn let's see, who is our program chairman this month? Ken Howell, I believe.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Steve. It's an honor to be able to introduce our speaker today, our program today. Charles Lipp, or as most of us refer to him as Chuck Lipp, is a member of the Lake Junaluska community. He and his wife, Jan, moved here from Lake Jackson, Texas in 2015. He is originally from Iowa, and he went to college. He grew up on a farm in Iowa, went to college in Iowa, received a degree or earned a degree in chemical engineering, and went on to a 36-year career with Dow Chemical, where he worked on a wide variety of things. One of his specialties is around spray technology. And he has some almost like artistic renderings of different spray technology that I've seen in his house before. And it's just fascinating, the work that he does. One of the things that we love about Chuck is he became very involved in our community almost instantly when he arrived. He put his talents to work. He's a member of our board of trustees. He's also a member of our community council. He's helped us navigate some issues related to our water and sewer system. He is the kind of person that enjoys lifelong learning. He also has continued a very long-standing tradition at Lake Junaluska, which is where our community members come up with great ideas, and then they work diligently alongside the organization to make those possible. And his program today is going to talk about exactly one of those programs, which is the TedX Lake Junaluska program. This is an idea that he conceived and saw a need for, and he'll explain more about that. And then we were honored to be able to host the event and work right along beside Chuck this year for the first annual TedX Lake Junaluska event. So Chuck, thank you for being with us today, and the stage is now yours.
Anyway, I am now unmuted, and now I want to share my screen. I have a few slides to share. Ken, thank you, and thank you all for this opportunity to speak to you about TedX. And TedX is a locally organized event, so let me just kind of get right into things here. And so first, not everyone's familiar with TED Talks, but a TED Talk is a talk that shares a single idea. And these are short talks. They're typically 12 to 14 minutes long, but very focused sort of talks. Most all of them are available on YouTube, so many of you have seen those in that format. TED Talks, and the TED stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. And Chris Anderson, who's shown in this image here, is I guess you'd say the driving force behind TED that transformed it from a small niche conference in Monterey, California, into an international event and with international influence. To really understand about TED Talks, he's actually produced a small YouTube video, and the words below really describe that. He's also written a book about speaking, about TED Talks, and that was part of the inspiration. Is really seeing what could be done there, and then also getting involved a little bit in TEDx Greenville. So a TEDx is a locally licensed event. The X stands for independently organized. and it's licensed by the TED organization with an annual sort of renewal. So they provide the TED brand, which is really quite valuable, as well as some information, but also stipulate many requirements. Because these are independently organized, everyone's a little different. I was aware that TEDx Greenville, South Carolina, had a very active organization. And after attending a couple of their events, I concluded, hey, they can do that. I understand a little bit about the community that I'm currently in, and I think we can do that too. So that was one of my crazy ideas, as Ken knows, and some of you other people have interacted with. I have more than a few crazy ideas. What I've learned about a TED event, a TEDx event, is it's a little bit like a lot of different things. So it's like a technical conference, and I worked on the organizing of some spray type technical conferences, and a group of keynotes. It's a little bit like theater in that you've got a set, you've got performers, and you have an audience. And in Lake Jackson, Texas, where we spent a couple of decades, we got involved in community theater because our daughter got involved. And that means as parents, you're part of the set construction team. Another aspect is that all of the TED Talks are video recorded. And so YouTube videos are produced from that. So there's an element of all these things in that. So it's kind of exciting, and it's quite different than just an ordinary sort of public speaking type event. For 2020 and what ended up being 2021 due to the pandemic, our theme for TEDx Lake Junaluska was seeing the invisible, and because of that theme was very flexible, we could really bring in lots of different types of talks to that. So what is the potential impact of a TEDx, of doing this? The 7 talks that we curated and produced and ultimately were put out on YouTube, they've had so far in the past 6 weeks, nearly 50,000 views. So 50,000 people from essentially around the world have become aware of our community, our region in a different way. And so this is a way to reach quite a broad audience. And well, exactly what do you want to say to them? And in my mind, based on the experience in part with TEDx Greenville, is the ideas you have that you feel are worth sharing, they say something about you. They say what type of community you are. Are you open to new ideas? Are you wanting to share positive ideas for change? That's the essence of all of these things. And here I've kind of highlighted, or I guess just not highlighted, but listed all the talks. And as you can see, we had one talk about the how do you save the dying languages like Cherokee, a talk about the importance of a positive attitude, Kim May's talk. Paul Lembo talked about the Apollo project, going to the moon. What does building the lunar excursion model have to do with how we interact with each other in companies and other organizations? Travis Murray talked about stewardship, about what's good, better, and best, moving from management to leadership to stewardship as it applies to organizations. So we have a very wide variety of talks that we produced. This slide here shows a few of the speakers and someone you will recognize in the upper right who helped us introduce a portion of things. But what we created this stage here, and people often say, well, Chuck, does the TED organization provide you those big red letters, those 3-dimensional letters? And the answer is no. They tell you exactly what font to use and what specific color of red to make things, but you're on your own for everything else. So we had a very wide variety of speakers here, and I guess I was very pleased, along with the whole group of us who were involved in producing this first event. So how do you move from an idea to the reality? You first outreach to select, to have people nominated as speakers. Then you, based on who is nominated, you work through a talk proposal and you develop a program. Then they're a very intensive part of scripting, coaching, and rehearsing that before the event. Something that we actually didn't, because of COVID, we couldn't necessarily market the event. So the recording of the talks was in front of a very small, basically invitation audience, to help the speakers really deliver the quality of talk that they did. And lastly, you produce the videos from that. So that's kind of the process that's typically used. So it does take time. It takes at least, I would say at least 6 months if you're doing it on our kind of routine sort of schedule. The aspect that I would hope that we could develop over time is the TEDster community. And I think this term needs a little bit of definition. Is perhaps many of you are interested in TED Talks. That becomes a source of knowledge, is really developing a community of people who want to spend time and really dig into these ideas we're sharing. That's something that for the upcoming work we intend on really focusing on pretty significantly. I'd have to say one of the things, my takeaways, is that what makes a TED Talk special, if you've seen these on YouTube, perhaps you've seen a TEDx talk in a live event, perhaps in Asheville, maybe Greenville, maybe perhaps even other places, all of them share a couple of things. One is that the ideas they're sharing are positive and actionable. It's too easy for speakers to get in the highlighting the problem, but the challenge is really focusing on that. How do you include elements of story? It may be a personal story. It may be a story that is developed, but that's one of the things that makes things quite memorable. The process of constraining the time to a 12-minute talk often results in those talks being really purified. I like to say crystallized, to kind of use a engineering sort of thing, is that when you crystallize things, you make them pure, more valuable because of that. And you avoid all the side directions that we often run into. This process involves very intensive coaching. Every one of the speakers received several run-throughs where they really presented their talk, and that coaching process provided a lot of feedback. And lastly, of course, it's practice, practice, practice. Good, high-quality talks really require a lot of practice. So where does this lead? For 2022, we're in the process of relicensing, but with the tentative theme we've proposed is opportunity, mind the gap. And as we know in the mountains here, the gaps in the mountains are the paths you head down to get to the future, if you will. And we're intending on this being in the spring of next year at Shackford Hall. There's a wonderful auditorium there that we will hopefully be using. It's a matter of working out all the schedules. Who's going to be talking? Well, that's yet to be determined. We're not really starting a public effort to nominate speakers, but we are very interested in, because that's the heart of the program is the speakers, really expanding that. And let me close by saying there's many opportunities to be involved in either the production or perhaps even speaking or nominating people. And you'll find you can reach me at Charles Lipp at lakejunaluska.com, and we have a small website, TedX Lake Junaluska. And let me close with a side comment. Ken, when he introduced me, he said Charles Lipp, but many of us know him as Chuck Lipp. Now, the thing I've noted is that when I make a reservation at a restaurant, Charles Lipp always gets a better table than Chuck Lipp does. So, but I've kind of tried to proceed through this overview quite quickly, so you have time to, if you have questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them. But thank you for this opportunity.
Chuck, can you hear me? This is Paul Irvin.
Oh, hi, Paul.
I'm actually on my cell phone at Lake Junaluska. I mean at Hilton Head. Tell them how they can go online to see see your TED Talks on YouTube. Is that not right?
Yeah, all of the 7 talks are available on YouTube. YouTube is a strange and wonderful thing. And if you have the title of the talk, you can find it. If you search TEDx Lake Junaluska, you'll find most of the talks, but not all of them. And that's one of the grand mysteries of YouTube. If you would like, I can provide a listing with links to all the talks. I'm happy to do that.
Great. The other thing is we've had a number of really outstanding speakers from local, all the way from plot hounds to wolf, taking care of wolves, and but mainly from mountain folks who've grown up here and have really interesting stories. I would suggest our program chair and whoever that is can tell you or get your number, and I think they would have some good suggestions for people for you to consider next year.
We're seeking nominations for talks. I mean, I think we want to be 2 things. Is we want to be to represent this region. So speakers, Travis Murray is a perfect example of our last year's speaker who really represented the Cold Mountain. He's a native. The Murrays go back generations upon generations in this area. So that would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
He was a young man with a great message too, a very young man, correct?
Yes, indeed.
Do we have some other questions for Charles or Chuck or Charles Chuck?
Chuck, if next year, if people wanted to actually attend the event, this year we did not allow that, or share a little bit about what you're thinking in terms of enabling people to come and see it firsthand and experience it firsthand.
Yes, our license that we applied for, we're limited to 100 people attending. So we're anticipating that the event will be about the better part of a day-long event, probably include a lunch with that and snacks. And so we will be selling tickets to offset some of the costs. We'll also be at some point soliciting additional sponsorships to offset some costs to keep the tickets very manageable. This isn't a for-profit endeavor. The challenge is how you obtain getting enough donations and income to be self-sustaining. But we will be selling tickets, yes.
And if people want to volunteer, talk a little bit more about, I mean, this is a whole volunteer driven, I mean, and not only you volunteer in your time, but some of the other different ways that people could volunteer, even if they weren't one of the speakers.
Oh, yeah, yes, indeed. We're anticipating that, I mean, there's a couple different aspects of volunteer efforts. One is in the organizational aspect of things, in selecting, helping. It's a team effort to select which talks to put the program together. Beyond that, we have several people as coaches, but we're always looking for additional people to participate in that way. In the event itself, we'll have needs for hospitality, as well as the production aspects, the video production aspects of things there. So that's opportunities for people to apply their skills, or perhaps as well learn new skills. Once the event is over with, then we have the process of producing the final video, the cut video, and there's some video editing there. So there's various aspects in which we need support. And if you have specific interest and skills, from operating a video camera to helping the speakers get prepared for their on stage part of the event. So there's lots of opportunities there. And we're seeking all, I mean, I guess one of the things I would really like is to end up with more younger speakers and a very diverse group of speakers. So that's things we're aiming at. So I think that I saw another hand up.
Marianne. Unmute yourself, Marianne.
I was fortunate enough to be invited by one of the speakers to attend the event this year, and it was most enjoyable.
I'm glad you enjoyed that. That it is Shackford Hall is a wonderful place, and this, I don't know which speaker invited you, but it's just to see the people come alive on stage there. So thank you for coming.
Charles, do you limit the number of speakers that you can invite or have produce speeches?
So for a full day, we will end up with about 18 talks in total that will be presented. There is a licensing requirement that for every 2 live talks, you have 1 pre-recorded TED authorized video. And so that allows you to, it's a requirement, but also allows you to kind of expand your program. So the bottom line in that is where we expect to need about 12 to 14 finished talks at the end. In the whole process, we'll probably end up selecting maybe 14 talks and allowing that a couple of people will drop out along the way for various personal reasons. So we need a good number of talks, 12 to 14 finished talks. Probably that means we'll need to, we'd like to get about 30 talk proposals from people. So that's a good number.
So a lot bigger number than I anticipated. And then this year's theme is men minding the gaps.
Yeah, opportunity, mind the gap. And for if you've been to London and ridden on the underground, the mind the gap is an announcement you will hear quite frequently. but we're using it in a different sort of context.
Chuck, what are the two most popular TED Talks internationally, and how many views would you think they had?
Oh, I don't know if I know which are the two most popular. It's not uncommon for a TED Talk that is really good to have 1 million, 1 to 5 million views over a few years.
I would assume Bill Gates is on infectious disease or whatever it was probably one of the most seen. Is that not right?
In the past year, his 2015 talk on was probably well appreciated.
Okay.
Sorry for the phone.
Thank you
But
so
yeah, I
much.
mean, you have the potential, and so the talks that at a big the large TED conference large international TED conference is typically in Vancouver, and that's like a 4-day event. And there's dozens of talks over that 4-day event. But even some of the talks from TEDx Greenville, some of them have well over 1 million views. So,
wow.
So the opportunity to reach the world and not in a very literal sense through TEDx is quite real.
Mm-hmm. Well, in Lake Junaluska, I hope you're in Lake Junaluska's media budget, because it brings a lot of people to know where Lake Junaluska is located and what's here. Thank you so much for doing it.
Thanks.
Chuck, this is Josh Morgan, and I won't bore everyone else, but you and I might want to just sort of touch base, because we talk about some of the younger folks being involved, and it doesn't. I know that there is a TEDx youth component of things, and I don't think that we're quite to that point of like making it two sort of things there. But I think that there's certainly some aspects here for us to look at infusing some younger speakers and things here into some of this. I won't bore everyone on that sort of a sidebar, but we do have a mutual friend in Ken who can help connect us up. And so, Ken, we're spending your money and taking your time too here. This is becoming a very productive Rotary meeting here for you. But yeah, let's touch base, Chuck.
I would very much like to, because I think that the skills that is taught when you create a TED quality talk are extraordinarily valuable.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not just that, but also even from the videography side of things, because that's one of the courses that we have here. So there's some other aspects, I think, not just from a content, but even from a production side, that we may be able to assist a little bit on there. So just
that would be super.
Little bee for the bonnet there. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Marianne. No.
No.
Any other questions? Comments? Charles, we've really enjoyed it, and I was pleased to see the article in the newspaper, and then to have you as a follow-up program for us is really a treat.
Thank you. Can I make a comment? Is in my career, more technical side of the career, the thought of generating a press release and of interacting with media, whether it be print or otherwise, was never really occurred to me. So this has really caused me to think about things in a different way. How do you use the media to get out your message? And that was a very nice article by Vicki Hyatt, and a nice interview as well. So thank you.
I don't see anything else. Do you, Cecil?
No, I think we're clear at this moment.
Whoops. No, I'm lost.
Steve, did you just cut yourself out of the meeting?
Nope.
There you are.
Just lost the screens. All right. If there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, we will see you all next Friday. Thank you very much again, Chuck. Charles.